Welcome to Book Solve and Book 4 in a series of 100 Great Reads. This one being The Wind That Lays Waste by Selva Almada. Um, it's another book translated from the Spanish by Chris Andrews and again published by a small independent press, Charco, who are based in Scotland. They publish some great books. Not many, because it's a small press, but um, it's really worth supporting. And for this book, we stay in Argentina, though not in a big city like Rosario, but out in the sparsely populated rural expanse of the country. Um, and once more, this is a very short novel. It's exactly the same length, actually, as How I Became a Nun. But it's a very different animal and has a feeling of a tense stage drama where the location, the landscape, and the climate are as equally critical to the story as the four characters. There's a southern gothic tone to both the setup and the delivery, and this could easily be mistaken for a novel by Flannery O'Connor. Um, in Selva Almada's The Wind That Lays Waste, the action takes place in an isolated garage in the middle of nowhere in the blistering heat of the Argentine pampas and with a baleful storm brewing on the horizon. So all the dramatic things are there. Um, Reverend Pearson, who's the main character, I guess, really, although all four are fleshed out pretty well. He's an indefatigable, impassioned, evangelical, itinerant preacher, and he travels across Argentina in a broken down truck that has just given up the ghost. He travels with his daughter Lena. Uh, his daughter's growing, and as her childhood reliance on him um, begins to fade, as well as the adoration that she's got for her father, um, she adores him, but by the same token, she doesn't agree with many of the things that he actually does. Um, she recalls the day more than a decade ago when the father absconded with her, leaving her mother alone, abandoned by the roadside, which we don't get to hear um, the details of how that all came about. But her childhood has been one that's been lived out on, as she puts it, the inside of the same old car, crummy rooms in hundreds of indistinguishable hotels, the features of dozens of children she never spent long enough with to miss when the time came to move on, and a mother whose face she could hardly recall. Um, and where they've ended up now, um, this is what uh, Lenny thinks of this. It was, reflects Lenny, a place that seemed to have been completely forsaken by humans. The teenage girl and her father had broken down near the Argentina's northern Santa Fe and Chaco provinces, and now as her gaze wanders across a Gehenna-like landscape of stunted, dry, twisted trees and bristly grass, it strikes her that from the very first day of creation, God too had forsaken that place. I think I called her Lena rather than Lenny earlier on. Apologise for that. The garage to which the truck is towed is owned by Gringo Bauer, a grizzled old mechanic set in his ways and on the macho side of masculinity, um, and his indolent youthful apprentice Tapioca. Interesting name there. It's his nickname. It was left with Gringo by a woman that claimed that Gringo was the boy's father. And Gringo has taught him about nature and about hard work. And the boy helps out around the garage with stray dogs as his sole companions. This is a garage that's in the middle of nowhere. They don't get many visitors. Business is sparse, and the going is tough. It's not an easy life. Reverend Pearson is steeped in religious fervour, missionary zeal, and patriarchal authority. His worldview's rigid. He believes he's guiding Lena by a divine right. I'll call her Lena again, Lenny. By a divine right, and he's determined to impose his spiritual mission on others, including Tapioca. Gringo Boa, he's also from an older generation, stands by as a foil. He's grounded, and he's not religious. He's pragmatic, emotionally reserved in the same way, but he's equally pig-headed as the Reverend. He doesn't try to impose his worldview on Tapioca, but it is true that by keeping the boy there, he's given him a hugely restrictive lifestyle. Lena is on the verge of rebellion. Oh, I forgot Lena. Let me just look this up. I've got Lena in some places, and I've got. If I just pick the book up and flick through it, I should imagine I should come across her name fairly quickly without too much of a problem, said he, not being able to find her name anyway. Lenny. Okay, so my apologies for messing up the name. It's Lenny. Okay. Lenny is on the verge of rebellion. She's intelligent, she's observant, and she's increasingly frustrated by her father's controlling behaviour. And Tapioca's more passive. He's less intelligent, uneducated, but he's becoming more aware of his likely dismal future life, and unless he grabs at some opportunity dramatically to change his circumstances. And both adults see the danger inherent in the forthcoming ending of their autocracy over their respective youngsters. Inside themselves, they know that those bonds are increasingly fragile and will soon sever entirely. And I said they both probably can see a lonely, suffering old age before them. And yet, they're totally unable to bond with each other. They're both hugely suspicious and dismissive of each other. They're antagonistic to each other, and despite having that unavoidable and increasingly urgent problem in common. This is where the isolated garage and the coming storm are a kind of liminal space that this drama plays out in, and it's handled really well. Almada uses the breakdown of these father-child relationships to illuminate the generational shift from unquestioning obedience to critical independence, and to explore the contrasting values systems of faith and pragmatism. And the passion of Reverend Pearson is emphasised. This little passage here. Oh, once again, he felt that he was an arrow burning with the flame of Christ, and the bow that is drawn to shoot that arrow as far as possible straight to the spot where the flame will ignite a raging fire, and the wind that spreads the fire will lay waste to the world with the love of Jesus. So there we are. We have the wind that will lay waste to the world. There are quieter views. Tapioca here It's got a reflective, quieter nature. Tapioca's memories of his mother are vague too. After she left him, he had to get used to his new home. What interested him most was the heap of old cars. The dogs and that mechanical cemetery were a comfort in the first weeks while he was adjusting. He would spend all day among the car bodies. He played at driving them with 3 or 4 dogs as co-pilots. And the gringo left him to it, approached the boy gradually, as if taming a wild animal. So we're well aware that there's going to be an inevitable revolution of youth. Bob Dylan's words, Bob Dylan. The times that are changing, and a new order will dawn as Argentina awakens to the future. The future isn't with those rather macho, dyed-in-the-wool certainties of the older generation, but the more malleable and changing and adaptable attitudes of the younger generation. So, all in all, this is very much an impressive debut novel. There's a lot packed into a very small space, and the one as I was reading it, this is very much the thing that was worrying me about it was: is it going to come to a horrible, trite ending? And thankfully, it doesn't. I'm not going to give away anything about the ending. But Selva Almada is far too good a writer to come up with some kind of cliche. It would have been a disaster had she done so. There we are. So that is book 4 of our 100 books. Only 96 to go now. I hope again that if you haven't read it, that you think, oh, actually, that might be one that I'd like picking up and giving it a read. It wouldn't take long, much like the César Eyre book. It can be read in one session all the way through. So all that's left now for me is to say cheerio from Booksolve, and happy reading to you all. Hey, 2 hands.